My child, before you tell yourself, I just have to be stronger, before you convince yourself that if you keep pushing a little harder, everything will finally become easier, stay with me for a little while, because today, I want to speak to the part of you that is exhausted. Not the part everyone else sees, the part that smiles, the part that says, I'm okay, the part that keeps going. No, I want to speak to the heart that is quietly whispering, I don't know how much longer I can do this. My child, I have heard that whisper, even when no one else did. I have seen you carry burdens that were never visible to anyone around you. Responsibilities, expectations, regrets, fear, guilt, pressure. You have carried them so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to walk without them. Please, don't leave yet, because what I am about to tell you may completely change the way you see your life. Imagine a traveler beginning a long journey. At the very beginning, his backpack feels light, a few supplies, a little water. Everything seems manageable, but as the journey continues, someone places a stone inside. A disappointment. A few miles later, another stone. A broken relationship. Then another. Financial pressure. Another. Fear of the future. Another. Trying to please everyone. Another. Trying to control everything. Another. The mistakes you still haven't forgiven yourself for. The traveler keeps walking. He never stops. He never complains. He simply adjusts his shoulders and keeps moving. After years, the backpack has become so heavy, he no longer remembers what it felt like to walk freely. My child, many of my children are living exactly like that traveler, not because life itself became impossible, but because they have continued carrying stones that I never asked them to carry. Please think about that. Not every burden on your shoulders was placed there by me. Some were placed there by fear, some by guilt, some by other people's expectations, some by the belief that everything depends on you, some by the impossible pressure to never disappoint anyone. My child, that is not the life I created for you. Please stay with me, because there is something I want you to notice. Have you ever watched a small child walking beside a loving father? At first, the child insists on carrying everything: the heavy bag, the toys, the blanket. The little arms become tired. The child begins stumbling. Still, the child refuses help. Finally, the father kneels down, smiles gently, and says, "Give it to me." Not because the child failed, not because the father is disappointed, but because the father was always strong enough to carry what the child never should have carried alone. My child, how many times have I quietly spoken those same words to your heart? Give it to me. Yet you answered, I'll manage. I'll figure it out. I don't want to bother you. I just need to try harder. My child, you have been trying to carry tomorrow while still carrying yesterday. No wonder today feels unbearable. Please don't miss this, because many people believe exhaustion is proof they are working hard enough. Sometimes, exhaustion is simply proof that they are carrying what was never theirs to carry. There is a difference, a profound difference. Imagine trying to hold a door closed during a violent storm. For a few moments, you can do it. For a few hours, perhaps. But eventually, your arms begin shaking. Your muscles burn. Your strength fades. Does that mean you are weak? No. It simply means you were never designed to hold back a storm with your own strength. My child, there are storms you have been trying to hold back for years, trying to fix every relationship, trying to solve every problem, trying to control every outcome, trying to protect everyone you love, trying to make sure nothing ever goes wrong. My child, you were never meant to become everyone's savior. There is already one savior, and it is not you. Please, let those words settle into your heart, because they may be the most freeing words you hear today. You do not have to hold the whole world together. You do not have to carry every fear. You do not have to fix every broken situation. You do not have to know every answer. You do not have to be strong every single moment. My child, some of the weight crushing your soul was never placed on your shoulders by heaven. You picked it up, little by little, without realizing how heavy it had become. And now, you have begun believing that this weight is simply part of who you are. But my child, a burden is not an identity. It is something that can be laid down. There is another reason your soul feels so tired. You have confused responsibility with control. Responsibility says, I will be faithful with what God has given me. Control says, everything depends on me. Responsibility brings peace. Control produces anxiety. Responsibility trusts. Control fears. Responsibility obeys. Control exhausts. My child, there are battles I invited you to fight. There are also battles I never intended for you to enter. Yet because you love deeply, you often carry pain that belongs to other people. You blame yourself for things beyond your control. You lose sleep over decisions that are no longer yours to make. You replay conversations, searching for ways you could have prevented someone else's choices. My child, compassion is beautiful, but carrying what belongs to someone else will eventually break even the strongest heart. Please stay with me, because in the next part, I want to show you something that many people spend their entire lives misunderstanding. You believe your greatest burden is everything happening around you. But what if the heaviest burden is not what is on your shoulders? It is the belief that you must carry it all alone. My child, stay with me, because now I want to show you something that may surprise you. You have been asking me for more strength, more endurance, more courage, more energy to keep carrying everything. But what if that was never my desire for you? What if I was never asking you to become stronger? What if I was asking you to become more surrendered? Please, don't leave yet, because this truth has set countless hearts free. Many of my children believe that faith means carrying every burden without ever breaking. They believe that if they become exhausted, they must not be trusting me enough. So they pray, Lord, give me the strength to keep carrying this, again and again and again. But my child, there is another prayer I long to hear. Lord, show me what I was never meant to carry. Those are two very different prayers. One asks for stronger shoulders. The other asks for greater wisdom. And wisdom will always carry you farther than endless striving. Imagine a gardener walking through his vineyard. He notices one branch bent almost to the ground, not because the tree is unhealthy, but because someone has tied heavy stones to its branches. The fruit is struggling. The leaves are drooping. The branch appears weak, but the gardener does not criticize the branch. He simply removes the unnecessary weight. Suddenly, the same branch begins to rise again. My child, perhaps you are not as weak as you think. Perhaps you are simply carrying stones I never tied to your life. Please think about that, because many people spend years trying to become stronger, when what they truly need is permission to put something down. My child, there are burdens that belong to today, and there are burdens you have borrowed from tomorrow. Today's responsibilities are enough, yet your mind keeps traveling into days that have not arrived. What if this happens? What if everything falls apart? What if I make the wrong decision? What if I cannot provide? What if I lose someone I love? My child, do you notice what has happened? You are living today, while carrying tomorrow's fears. No wonder your soul feels tired. Tomorrow has not even arrived, yet you have already carried it 100 times inside your imagination. Fear has a way of demanding payment for tragedies that may never happen, and each payment steals a little more of your peace. Please stay with me, because I want to tell you something beautiful. I have never asked you to carry tomorrow. I only asked you to trust me today. The grace I give you is daily. The strength I provide is daily. The mercy I pour over your life is new every morning. Why? Because I never intended for you to live 6 months ahead in your mind. I created you to walk with me, one faithful step at a time. My child, there is another burden you have been carrying, the burden of trying to be enough for everyone. You try to be the perfect parent, the perfect spouse, the perfect child, the perfect employee, the perfect friend. You fear disappointing people. You fear saying no. You fear letting someone down. So you keep giving and giving and giving until one day there is almost nothing left to give yourself. My child, love does not require you to destroy yourself. Compassion is not the same as constant exhaustion. Serving others is beautiful, but sacrificing your soul to meet everyone's expectations is not what I ever asked of you. Even my son stepped away from the crowds. He rested, he prayed. He was not available to everyone every moment. Yet he loved perfectly. Think about that. If Jesus himself embraced moments of rest, why do you believe you must earn your worth through endless exhaustion? My child, you have believed a lie. The lie says, if I stop carrying everything, everything will fall apart. But let me ask you something. Who was holding the universe together before you were born? Who causes the sun to rise every morning? Who knows every star by name? Who keeps the oceans within their boundaries? Who breathes life into every living creature? It has never been you, and it never needed to be. My child, you are deeply loved. But you are not called to be all-powerful. That place belongs only to me. Please don't miss this, because many of my children are not exhausted from obedience. They are exhausted from trying to be God, not intentionally, not proudly, simply because they believe everything depends on them. They carry outcomes they cannot control. They carry people they cannot change. They carry guilt that my forgiveness has already removed. They carry responsibilities that were never assigned to them. And then they wonder why they can no longer find joy. My child, joy cannot flourish beneath unnecessary weight. Neither can peace. Imagine trying to run a race while dragging heavy chains behind you. You may still move forward, but every step becomes harder. Eventually, you stop believing freedom is possible. Not because the chains are unbreakable, but because you have worn them for so long that they feel normal. My child, some burdens become so familiar that you mistake them for part of your identity, but they are not. Guilt is not your identity. Fear is not your identity. People's expectations are not your identity. Perfection is not your calling. Control is not your assignment. You are my child. That is your identity. Nothing heavier than that was ever meant to define you. Please stay with me, because we are approaching the heart of this message. There is one burden above all others, one invisible weight that has quietly made every other burden feel heavier. Most people never recognize it. Yet once they do, everything begins to change. In the next part, I want to reveal the burden I never asked you to carry. The burden that has been stealing your rest, and the moment you finally lay it down, you will begin to understand what true peace really feels like. My child, stay with me, because now we have reached the heart of this message. This is the truth I have been leading you toward from the beginning. And if you remember nothing else today, remember this. The burden that is breaking you may be the burden I never asked you to carry. My child, you have spent so long asking for stronger shoulders, more discipline, more endurance, more courage. You believed the answer was becoming strong enough to carry everything. But what if strength was never the answer? What if the answer was surrender? Please do not rush past that, because there is a profound difference between faithfulness and overburdening yourself. Faithfulness carries what I give you. Fear carries everything it imagines could go wrong. Faithfulness takes the next step. Control tries to carry the entire road. Faithfulness obeys. Control attempts to guarantee the outcome. My child, much of your exhaustion has not come from doing what I asked. It has come from trying to manage what only I can hold. You have tried to carry other people's decisions, their healing, their happiness, their opinions, their future. You have taken responsibility for how they respond, whether they change, and whether they understand your heart. But my child, you can love someone deeply without becoming responsible for every choice they make. You can pray for them without trying to control them. You can support them without carrying their entire life on your back. You can care and still surrender. My child, imagine a shepherd walking beside a frightened sheep. The sheep sees the entire flock scattered across the hillside and begins running in every direction. It tries to gather them, protect them, guide them, keep them from danger. Soon it becomes exhausted. But the sheep was never meant to shepherd the flock. That responsibility belonged to the shepherd. My child, you have been trying to do the shepherd's work. You have been trying to keep everyone safe, trying to prevent every mistake, trying to rescue people who are not ready to be rescued, trying to force doors open for those who refuse to walk through them. And because you could not accomplish the impossible, you blamed yourself. Please hear me carefully. You are not failing because you cannot control what was never under your authority. You are simply human, and being human is not a flaw. My child, this is where everything begins to change. The problem was not that you cared too much. The problem was that you confused love with control. Love says, I will stand beside you. Control says, I must make sure nothing bad ever happens to you. Love says, I will pray for you. Control says, I must fix you. Love says, I trust God with your life. Control says, everything depends on me. My child, only one of those brings peace. Please stay with me here, because there is another burden hiding beneath all the others, the burden of guilt. You still punish yourself for things I have already forgiven. You replay old mistakes. You revisit old conversations. You remember what you should have said, what you should have done, where you should have been stronger. You carry the past as if constant regret could somehow rewrite it. But regret cannot change yesterday. It can only steal today. My child, if you brought that failure to me, if you confessed it honestly, if you asked for mercy, then why are you still carrying what I already took from you? Why are you rebuilding the prison after I opened the door? Why are you wearing chains that grace has already broken? My child, forgiveness is not pretending the mistake did not matter. Forgiveness is refusing to let the mistake become your master. And I never asked you to spend the rest of your life paying for what mercy already covered. Please think about this. A prisoner is released. The gate opens. The chains fall. But he remains inside the cell because he has forgotten how freedom feels. My child, that is what guilt has done to you. The door is open, but part of your heart still sits inside the old room, not because I locked you there, because shame convinced you that freedom was not meant for you. But shame is not my voice. My voice says, come out, walk with me, begin again. My child, there is still another weight you have been carrying. The burden of needing everyone to understand you. You explain yourself again and again. You replay arguments in your mind. You imagine the perfect words that might finally make someone see your intentions. You long for fairness. recognition, vindication, and when people misunderstand you, your heart cannot rest. But my child, some people will never understand your heart, not because you explained it poorly, but because they have already chosen the version of you they want to believe. You cannot carry the burden of changing every mind. You cannot build your peace upon being correctly understood by everyone. That is an impossible foundation. My child, I know your heart. I know what you meant. I know where you tried. I know where you failed. I know the full truth. Let my understanding become enough, not because people do not matter, but because their opinion was never meant to become the judge of your worth. My child, here is the big reveal. You are not exhausted only because life is heavy. You are exhausted because you keep carrying outcomes, people, guilt, and opinions that belong in my hands. That is the invisible weight. That is why rest has seemed impossible. You lie down, but your mind keeps carrying. You take a day off, but your heart keeps working. You close your eyes, but fear continues rehearsing tomorrow. Physical rest cannot heal a soul that refuses to surrender. My child, rest is not merely stopping activity. Rest is releasing control. Rest is saying, I have done what I can. I will trust God with what I cannot. I will love without controlling. I will care without carrying everything. I will repent without living in endless punishment. I will be faithful without trying to become the Savior. My child, that is true rest. Please do not misunderstand me. Surrender is not carelessness. It is not giving up. It is not ignoring responsibility. Surrender means you remain faithful to your part and release the part that belongs to me. Imagine two circles drawn in the sand. Inside the first circle are the things you can do. You can pray. You can speak honestly. You can apologize. You can set boundaries. You can make wise decisions. You can take the next step. Inside the second circle are the things you cannot control. How others respond, what tomorrow brings, whether someone changes, whether every plan succeeds, whether every person approves of you. My child, you have been standing inside the second circle, trying to control what cannot be controlled, while becoming too exhausted to do what is actually yours. That is not faithfulness. That is fear wearing the clothes of responsibility. And today, I am asking you to step back into the place of peace. Do what is yours. Trust me with what is mine. My child, as it is written, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Notice what I said. Come to me, not become stronger first, not carry it more gracefully, not prove you can endure a little longer. Come. That is the invitation. Bring the weight, bring the confusion, bring the guilt, bring the people you cannot fix, bring the outcomes you cannot control, bring the future you cannot predict. My child, you do not need to place the burden down perfectly. You only need to stop pretending you can carry it forever. Perhaps your hands have been closed around it for so long that opening them feels frightening. You wonder, if I let go, what will happen? My child, that question reveals something important. You have trusted your grip more than my hands, but your grip is tired. Mine are not. Your understanding is limited. Mine is not. Your strength has an ending. Mine does not. Please stay with me, because in the next part, I want to show you how to lay these burdens down without picking them back up 5 minutes later. I want to show you what surrender looks like in ordinary life, not as a beautiful idea, but as a daily practice. And my child, when you finally learn to release what belongs to me, you will discover that peace was never waiting for your problems to disappear. Peace was waiting for your hands to open. My child, stay with me, because now we come to the question that quietly lives inside so many hearts. You understand what I am saying. You know the burden is too heavy. You know you cannot keep living like this. But there is one question that still remains. Lord, how do I actually let it go? Because surrender sounds beautiful, until it is time to unclench your hands. Please, stay with me, because I want to show you that surrender is not a single emotional moment. It is a daily decision, a quiet decision, a courageous decision, one that you make again and again and again. Imagine holding a heavy suitcase. You have carried it through airports, up staircases, across long roads. Hour after hour, your hands ache, your shoulders burn, your back is exhausted. Then someone stronger walks beside you and says, "Give it to me." At first, you hesitate, not because you enjoy carrying it, but because after holding it for so long, it almost feels strange to let it go. My child, that is exactly what happens with many burdens. You have carried them for so many years that they have begun to feel like part of your identity. You no longer say, "I am carrying anxiety." You say, "I am an anxious person." You no longer say, "I am carrying fear." You say, "This is just who I am." You no longer say, "I am carrying guilt." You quietly believe, "I deserve to carry it forever." But my child, a burden carried for many years is still only a burden. It has never become your identity. Please hear me. You are not your fear. You are not your anxiety. You are not your exhaustion. You are not your failures. You are not your shame. You are my child. That is who you are. Everything else can be laid down. Please don't miss this, because many people ask me to remove the burden while keeping both hands tightly wrapped around it. They pray, "Lord, take this anxiety away." Then 5 minutes later, they pick it back up. They replay tomorrow. They imagine the worst. They rehearse every possible disaster. They begin carrying again the very thing they asked me to take. My child, surrender is not saying, "I trust you" once. Surrender is choosing, every time fear returns, to place it back into my hands, again and again and again, because trust grows through repetition, not through perfection. Imagine standing beside a quiet river. You pick up a large stone. Across the stone are written the words, "Fear." You hold it against your chest. It is heavy, cold, uncomfortable. Then I gently ask, "Throw it into the river." You hesitate, not because you love the stone, but because it has been with you for so long. Finally, you release it. It disappears beneath the water. For the first time in years, your hands are empty. But then, a few moments later, you walk into the river, searching for the very stone I asked you to release. My child, how often have you done this? You surrendered, then took it back. You forgave, then reopened the wound. You trusted, then spent the rest of the night worrying, not because your faith was fake, but because your heart is still learning, and I am patient with that, very patient. Please stay with me, because I never become frustrated every time you come back carrying the same burden. Have you ever watched a loving father teaching his little child to walk? The child falls. The father lifts him up. The child falls again. The father smiles and reaches down once more. He does not say, "You've already fallen 10 times. Figure it out yourself." No, love always reaches again. My child, how much more do you think my love reaches for you? Every time you hand me your fear, I receive it. Every time you bring me your worries, I listen. Every time you whisper, "Lord, I'm carrying this again," I never answer. I already told you once. Instead, I simply say, "Come here," because relationship has never been built upon perfect performance. It has always been built upon returning, again, and again, and again. My child, there is another misunderstanding I want to free you from. Many people believe surrender means they stop caring. It does not. Surrender does not remove compassion. It removes unnecessary control. You can still pray for your family without carrying their future. You can still love someone deeply without carrying every consequence of their choices. You can still work faithfully without carrying tomorrow's outcome. You can still make wise plans without believing your entire life depends upon them succeeding. Do you see the difference? Love remains, faithfulness remains, responsibility remains. Only the crushing weight disappears. That is the freedom I desire for you, my child. As it is written, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Notice the invitation. Cast it, not admire it, not analyze it endlessly, not carry it a little longer. Cast it, throw it toward me, place it into my hands. Why? Because I care for you. Not because you earned my care, not because you have been strong enough, not because your faith has been perfect, because you are my child. That has always been enough, my child. I know there are still questions that keep you awake, bills that still need to be paid, people who still need healing, relationships that still feel broken. The circumstances may not change overnight, but something inside you can. You can stop carrying them alone. And when that changes, everything begins to feel different. The road may remain the same, but the weight upon your shoulders becomes lighter. Not because life became easier, because you finally allowed me to carry what only I was ever meant to hold. Imagine two travelers walking the same mountain path. One insists on carrying every bag himself. The other allows his stronger companion to shoulder most of the weight. The mountain is identical. The distance is identical. The weather is identical. Yet one traveler reaches the summit exhausted, while the other arrives with strength still remaining. What changed? Not the journey, the burden. My child, many of your prayers have been asking me to change the mountain. Today, I am inviting you to let me carry the weight. That is where peace begins. Not when every problem disappears, but when every burden finds its rightful owner. Please stay with me, because there is one final truth I want to place deep inside your heart. In the last part, I want to show you what life begins to look like, when your hands are no longer full of burdens and are finally free to receive my peace. My child, before this message comes to an end, I want to ask you one simple question. If you laid every burden at my feet today, who would you be tomorrow? Not what would you have, who would you become? Please, think about that for a moment. Because for so long, you have believed that peace would come after your problems disappeared, after the bills were paid, after the family was healed, after every answer arrived, after every uncertainty was removed. But my child, peace has never been the reward for having a perfect life. Peace has always been the fruit of trusting me with an imperfect one. There is a profound difference. Many people spend years waiting for a lighter life, when what they truly need is lighter hands. My child, imagine standing in a field during a gentle rain. Your hands are completely full. You are carrying stones, heavy, cold, rough. Then I begin pouring gifts into your life. Grace, wisdom, strength, peace. Hope, but your hands cannot receive them, not because I am unwilling to give, but because there is no room left. My child, sometimes the greatest reason you cannot receive my peace is because your hands are still holding burdens I asked you to release. Please don't misunderstand me. I am not asking you to stop caring. I am asking you to stop carrying what belongs to me, because there is a difference between concern and ownership. Concern prays, ownership worries. Concern trusts, ownership controls. Concern rests, ownership never sleeps. My child, you have spent too many nights trying to solve problems that only I can solve. Too many mornings trying to predict outcomes only I can see. Too many years carrying responsibilities I never placed upon your shoulders. No wonder your soul feels tired. Please stay with me, because I want to show you what happens when surrender becomes your way of living. Imagine a little girl walking beside her father through a crowded city. She does not know every street. She cannot read every sign. She has no map, no plan, no understanding of where they are going. Yet she laughs. She smiles. She looks around with wonder. Why? Because she is not carrying the responsibility of finding the way. Her father is. My child, when did you begin believing you had to carry what only your father was meant to carry? When did you decide that everything depended upon you? When did you begin measuring your worth by how much weight you could survive? That was never my invitation. My invitation has always been much simpler. Walk with me. Trust me. Let me be your shepherd. Because sheep were never created to carry the shepherd's responsibilities. They were created to follow his voice. My child, there is something beautiful that happens when your hands finally become empty. For the first time, they become available. Available to receive my peace. Available to receive my joy. Available to receive my direction. Available to receive my direction. Available to receive the blessings that anxiety kept blocking. Not because I was withholding them, because fear occupied the space where trust was meant to grow. Please think about this. A clenched fist cannot receive a gift. It must first open. Likewise, a heart tightly holding every burden finds it difficult to receive rest. My child, open your hands. Not because life is suddenly easy. Open them because I am trustworthy. There is another picture I want you to carry with you. Imagine standing beside a river at sunset. The current is gentle. The water reflects the golden sky. One by one, you begin placing your burdens into a small wooden boat. Fear, you place it inside. Guilt, you place it inside. The future, inside. Your children, inside. Your marriage, inside. Your finances, inside. The mistake you still replay every night, inside. The person you cannot change, inside. The unanswered prayer, inside. When the boat is full, I gently push it away from the shore. You watch it drift toward the horizon. For a brief moment, your instinct is to jump into the river and pull it back. That is what you have always done. You surrendered. Then you reclaimed the burden. You trusted. Then you worried again. You rested. Then you took the weight back before morning. But this time, I ask you to remain on the shore. Watch the boat disappear. Trust that what has entered my hands does not need to return to yours. My child, some of you listening today have carried certain burdens for so long, you cannot imagine life without them. You have worn anxiety like clothing. You have worn guilt like a second skin. You have worn responsibility like chains around your heart. But hear me clearly. You are not what you carry. You are who I say you are. You are my beloved child. Nothing more is required. Nothing heavier is necessary. Nothing can make me love you more. Nothing can make me love you less. My child, remember what my son said. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. He did not say, I will give you more strength to keep carrying everything. He said, I will give you rest. Rest. Not because every storm immediately ends. Rest because you no longer face it alone. Rest because your Father has taken hold of what was crushing you. Rest because the burden has finally found the shoulders strong enough to carry it. My child, perhaps tonight, before you fall asleep, you do not need another plan. You do not need another solution. Perhaps what your soul needs most is permission to stop carrying everything for just one night. Leave tomorrow with me. Leave the unanswered questions with me. Leave the people you cannot change with me. Leave your regrets with me. Leave your fears with me. Leave your future with me. I will still be awake. You do not have to be, because I never sleep. I never grow tired. I never become overwhelmed. What crushes you does not overwhelm me. What confuses you does not confuse me. What feels impossible to you has never been impossible for me. My child, let today become the day you stop proving how much you can carry and start discovering how deeply you can trust, because trust, not endless striving, is what brings true rest. So before you leave, I want you to do something simple. Close your eyes for just a moment. Picture every burden you have been carrying. Now imagine placing each one into my hands. Do not rush. Name them, one by one. Your fear, your exhaustion, your guilt, your family, your finances, your health, your future. Now whisper these words, slowly, as a prayer. Lord, I don't want to carry what belongs to you anymore. Teach me to trust you. Teach me to rest in you. Teach me to open my hands. My child, if those words came from your heart, then today was not the end of your struggle, but it may become the beginning of your freedom. Because freedom does not begin when every burden disappears. Freedom begins the moment you stop believing you must carry it alone. If this message reached your heart today, write these words in the comments. Lord, I lay it down. Not as a habit, not because everyone else is writing something, but as your own quiet prayer, a declaration that today you choose trust over control, peace over pressure, rest over relentless striving. My child, you have carried it long enough. Now, let me carry you. Amen.